Story 19, Steve the Softball Stegosaurus. Steve was a stegosaurus who just loved to play softball. The spines on his tail gave him a significant advantage when playing softball, as his bat was larger than the other dinosaurs. Steve was therefore very good at softball, and always scored highly when he was batting. He never got to play softball anymore, as nobody would play with him because he was too good and always won. One morning, Steve was walking along the path in his village, minding his own business, when he heard a voice from the other side of the path. "Steve! Steve!" He looked over to see who was calling him, and saw his raptor friend stood there calling him. Steve crossed the path to find out what his friend was shouting at him for. "Hello, Chuck, how are you doing this morning?" asked Steve. "I'm fine, thanks, Steve," replied the raptor. "Would you care for a game of softball?" "Oh, that would be lovely," Steve said. "I almost never get to play it anymore." Chuck and Steve headed over to the nearby softball arena and started to play. After 7 attempts at batting, Steve had scored 7 home runs. His second bat wasn't as good as the others, as Chuck was a really fast bowler, but Steve still got a home run just. This was still his best batting session for a long time, though, and he was surprised that he hadn't been caught out at all the game. It was now Steve's turn to bowl, which was by far the worst part of his game. He stood up to the pitching line and threw the ball to Chuck. Crack! He smacked the ball right out of the arena, and all of the spectators cheered in amazement. Steve had gotten some good runs with his hits, but none of them sent the ball out of the arena. This was probably due to Chuck being such a good bowler, but Steve was amazed at Chuck's hit nonetheless. Steve kept throwing the ball to Chuck, who managed to knock the ball out of the arena on every pitch, leaving the crowd amazed and cheering the whole time. On the 7th hole, Steve was determined to win and pitched his best bowl yet. Crack! Chuck had hit the ball and it was rolling to the edge of the field. This was Steve's best bowl yet, and Chuck had not managed to knock the ball out of the arena. He was, however, running between the bases while Steve was running after the ball. 1, 2, 3, Chuck shouted as he reached one of the bases. Steve reached the ball just as Chuck shouted again. 4, yeah! Chuck had made a home run and had drawn level with Steve in the game. Steve was disappointed not to have won, and it showed on his face whilst he was congratulating Chuck. "Never mind, Steve," said Chuck. "Keep practicing your game, and your bowling will get better. Then maybe others won't do so well." Steve agreed that he hadn't played in a while and that he must have lost his edge when he bowled. From that day forward, Steve practiced softball every day, and his bowling became much better, ready for his next challenge. The end.